me regurgitate the ibuprofen. I think Joe needs it more.
Oh, we are starting off like that, folks. And I want to welcome everybody to Crashing Game Night. My name is Matt Diorio, your host. As always, tonight we have not one, but two guests. Returning to the show are the champions. But in this case, in this capacity, it's sort of now because we're on to Tears of the Kingdom. But we've got
That's
Rivali
right.
himself, Sean Chiplock.
I'm a no-show. Like, out of all the people on the cast, I'm probably the one with the least involvement because one of them doesn't even show up because he already had his time, and the other one shows up, and I was like, "Yeah, we get to see more of the family life." And it was really just a guy getting up and sitting down on a couch. We had, and that's it. That's the whole performance. You just got an illegally downloaded copy of that entire performance. I hope you're prepared.
Talk, Sean, I didn't know if you were in the game or not. Like,
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is Joe Hernandez.
No one else does.
Well, again, like, because they were so secretive and like so hush hush about stuff, and so like you would only see the scenes that your character is in. And like,
oh,
and so,
that's
like,
true. Yeah,
there are moments where you would have cut scenes with other characters, and I'm like, okay, I see so and so, I see so and so. I don't see Rivali. I don't see is Sean gonna be like? Is he okay? Like, what's?
Oh no!
And my favorite part was because Teba didn't talk. I was like, "Well, good news, guys! I still voice someone. I'm the Rito Sage." And then I check online, and like the majority of people are like, "Is that Matthew Mercer as the Rito Sage?" It sounds just like him.
Hey, that's a good comp. That's a great compliment,
I mean,
though, dude.
No, it's not, because it means I'm the discount Matthew Mercer.
No.
Like, yo, man, I don't see
that
level,
like,
bro.
So we're talking like
that means you're at that level, I feel.
Sure.
And then, ladies and gentlemen, as always, the beanied one, Gerard Barrera.
What's up, baby? How's it going, nerds? Right now, I'm not feeling the beanie right now. It is like 90 degrees out,
It's hot.
It's okay. I'm doing it for you because I'm committed. I'm committed to the character, just like my boys here.
We're having weird stuff over here. It was only like 67 degrees a couple nights ago, but
I know
7% humidity. I looked at that humidity meter. I was like, where? What?
It's
why?
weird.
Wow.
I don't miss the humidity at all.
If Canada doesn't cut it out, we're going to start more fires up there. So help me God.
And real quick, ladies and gentlemen, the maitre d' services, the man with the couch, the man, the myth, the legend, the lion's mane, Jason Belledio.
How's it going, guys? How's it going tonight? You know, getting that beard back in service again. You know, it's been 2 weeks.
Jason living the real life. He has sold his apartment and moved into the void of nothingness.
Oh, sir.
Just the
There's
couch.
no rent. There's no rent. Who are they gonna find? How are they gonna find him if he doesn't pay? They're gonna search.
It's
the
all you need. All you need is a couch.
Yep.
All you need is a couch in the
You
home.
literally, you just opened the couch and you just Harry Pottered it. You just walk down.
Yep.
That's all you need is a couch.
All it costs is finding a god of a death note and using it and then dying, and you've got free apartment space for the rest of your eternal nothingness.
You got one and a dream.
One in a dream.
Let me tell you, getting back on the freeway is an ass and a half.
Oh, that's when you just port key wherever you need to go.
But how's it going, guys? You know, it's been quite a while. It's been a
Dude,
good moment.
Let me start off because for you guys, this is Sean and Joe. I want to thank you guys for tonight, right? Because we had good conversation, good laughter last time. But like for me tonight, I was telling Joe this before the episode and stuff like that. This is going to be well needed for me too tonight, and some laughter because with the anniversary of my mom's passing was yesterday. Like, and I can remember it like it was yesterday 4 years ago. And as a matter of fact, we literally recorded an episode of the podcast like the night I flew back to Colorado from Virginia to basically try and start taking care of my mom. Like all of the finances, it was like my stepdad had no idea what the heck was going on finance-wise in the house. And
I remember that. We even like asked you like multiple times, like,
they were
bro,
like, are you
sure? Like, dude,
are you
like,
sure?
But you needed to. It's like
the episode of like Clerks Animated where the guy's just going, "Is it safe? is it safe? But it was like, it was needed, but it was like, and I got to give appreciation to you guys when you guys go do your signings and stuff like that, because, we had Fan Expo here in Denver, the weekend of 4th of July. So, one, I got to meet Nolan North, was great. I mean, that's like,
oh my God, that's iconic
I mean,
right there.
He's such a cool dude.
And getting to tell him what Uncharted really meant to me beyond just being a game, right? Because a lot of, and for me, it was like at a low point at that point in my life, coming off of really messy divorce and everything. And Uncharted came out and it pulled me out of that whole dark void of how messy divorces can be. So, but like, for me, I got to meet Jonathan Frakes, who is Commander Riker in Star Trek. And I
proceed number one.
I openly like cried when I got to meet him. And it wasn't just because, oh, it's Commander Riker. And like, some people are like, oh my God, it's a character. But for me, it was because this year has been super hard for me for whatever reason. I have no idea why. Like, the years past on Los Angeles is like anniversary 1, 2, and 3. I was okay. Like, I didn't really break down, have my moments, but this year's been really weird. And, maybe it's because my son's in kindergarten and my mom's missing a lot of that stuff growing up and whatnot, but like,
and has missed some big moments,
a lot of big moments, and Picard season 3 has gotten me through a lot of it and brought back a lot of really, really good memories, like of me sitting down watching Next Generation with my mom every Sunday when the new episodes came out. It was like, and just being able to talk to him, and it just the tears just let go. Like, I couldn't help. I was like, dude, I want to thank you for Picard, and like, there go the tears. I'm like, I'm crying to Commander Riker, but hearing Jonathan's story too, saying, hey, I lost my brother when I was really young, like, and him being able to relate to what I was going through, and hearing that amount of just thank you for validating kind of what we do, right? Because so you guys, I know, I mean, some of your characters are not just characters, they're pieces of you, and whatnot. And like, he gave me the biggest hug, like at the end when we were saying goodbye. And it was just like, he's like, thank you for telling me your story. And it was just like, that means more to me than just like a show, right? I mean, anybody could just go, yeah, it's Star Trek. I was like, yeah, but it means more to us. So I do have to say thank you for tonight, because I know we're going to have some laughs, and we already started off with, Sean doing ibuprofen and Red Bull.
Listen, sometimes the goal of the day is survive by any means necessary.
Yep.
So I do want to ask you guys, after actually experiencing my first con like that, right? Because I've done E3, but I haven't done anything like Fan Expo. So when you guys do these signings and people come to talk to you and meet you and stuff, how does it feel when they start talking to you? Like, and some of them tell you those stories and like how much your performance has actually meant to them.
Tremendous. I mean, it really is, man. I'm trying to remember, was it SAC Anime, or there was one, we were doing a signing and they had all of us from the cast there. And this one guy came up and he was like, man, I can't tell you how much it means to see, Hispanic up here signing. Like, that means a lot. And for me, I'm really big on representation. And so, that's something that I didn't really have that much in my media intake when I was growing up as a child. So that's something that I do take very, very seriously. And, there are Latinos, there are Hispanics in the voiceover community, but it's not what it should be. The representation is, there's still room to grow. So again, when I hear that, man, I mean, it really hits you on a deeper level, because that, it's not just, voicing a character. There's a greater significance to it. And anytime you get a chance to really resonate with somebody on that level, my God, it takes on a life that's just so much bigger than itself.
Inspiring, even.
Yeah.
Good.
There was one other woman. Oh, sorry, go on.
No, by all means, go ahead.
There was this one other woman that came up to us, and she said that her son who was autistic, you know, played Breath of the Wild, and like that for her was like kind of her escape as well as his, because he took so much joy in playing it. And like for her as a mother, being able to watch her son get lost in a video game and just be a kid and just enjoy something, it allowed her that moment of just being able to be a mom and not have to worry about, you know, being a parent and all the distractions and all the hardships that she probably has to endure with her scenario. I mean, I went up and I gave her a giant hug, man, because again, you know, when you're able to affect people on a deeper level like that, I mean, that's what it's all about. It's about that human emotion. It's about that connection. But yeah, man, that's when, you know, like your work has made a difference in somebody's life, when you like touch someone, you know.
And I don't know if we've spoken about this the last time you guys were on, about representation, but I also got to thank you for your representation, dude, because, you know, you're representing us. I am also of Latino descent. So like, I also, I also agree with you that we're still not there, but I would say we're slowly seeing a resurgence. I would say like more now, but it's still slowly getting there. But you know, stay tried and true, and keep you know, climbing that hill, dude. And I hope more is to come.
Yeah, I mean,
and then we got the cab crashing game night.
Cat.
I had to stick with the title, man. I had to contribute to it. She's been waiting for Joe to sign something for her, but he's just been talking and talking. No. Well, Joe adequately and significantly covered a lot of the personal aspect. There's not much I could say that wouldn't be something he already covered in that regard. But I find it funny when I think about the purpose or the meaning behind, you know, being at that autograph table and having people line up, because I'm always at odds with the fact that it is a chance to interact with folks, but it is also in itself like a business, a service, a kiosk of sorts. Because unless I happen to be having a dead day, there's a not strict, but still like hidden time limit, you know, when you've got a long line of people and you need to get through them and you don't want to waste their time. So I'm always trying to balance, like, okay, well, where's the conversation going with this person? You know, have we shared enough information? Is there a way for us to keep in touch if we want to discuss more? You know, the business side is always at odds with the creative side. But one thing that I appreciate about signings in general is it's multifaceted. And on the one hand, I have never been one for the faceless void method of fan service, let's call it, without naming certain specific apps and getting sued in the process. There's all kinds of apps where people can like pay to request a special video or a shout out or something like that. And I hate them. I hate them so much, because it's 30 to 60 seconds of me talking, looking at myself in the face, not knowing what this other person looks like, and then sending it off. And it's not an interaction, you know, it's a product, it's a job. Whereas getting to be at that autograph table, I get to interact with, I get to share expressions and
more personable.
I get to act and react with every single person that comes up to that table. And I really cherish that. In fact, I've kind of made a name for myself as the kid who doesn't leave the table from open to close. Like every con that I go to,
nice.
If the con opens at 9 and it closes at 6, I am at that table unless I'm at a panel or something else from that point. There was without going into a whole story, there was like a thing in the Philippines where they ended up extending it by like 2-3 hours beyond the closing time because of stuff that happened. And like everyone else had left by that point, like all the other guests. And I stayed there. I was there. I took a 30-minute nap under the table and then I kept going. So, so I appreciate that I get the chance to showcase my passion for this career and share that moment with folks in line. But also it is my way of giving back, because I'm sure we've all had at least one point where we went to an event and we lined up for a panel that we really wanted to see, or for a guest that we really wanted to see. And they cut the line off at some point, or they say, after this person, we can't take anybody else. It's very busy.
Or a don't meet your heroes moment.
Or a don't meet your heroes moment. And my solution to that is I tell people, if you are willing to wait in line, I will see you before I go. You know, I can't.
I had a big moment in don't meet your heroes moment.
Really?
Big
Did
one.
you want to share?
Who was it? Who was it?
Who was
Matthew
it?
Perry. Matthew Perry.
Matthew Perry.
Yeah. It was rough. I was working at Sony at the time, and I opened the door for him, and he wasn't so polite in so many words. And
I've had parents come up to me with their kids and be like, we're so glad that you were so nice to talk to. You know, we had some bad experiences with other guests. And I'm sitting here like, who gets paid to show up on a weekend, gets paid to be there, and gets to sell merchandise, and still decides to have an attitude about being there? So
yeah.
I don't know. So and to me, it's my vacation, because my brain is always running 50 miles per hour, even when it's time to be sleeping. And so people are like, aren't you exhausted traveling to con after con after con? And I go, no, because when I'm at home, I'm auditioning and recording and streaming and helping the wife and making time for everything else and running the errands. And when I'm out at these cons, my one job is to sit at that table and interact with people. And when it's one task, it's a lot easier to focus on. So it's cathartic for me, because I only have to think about one goddamn thing for a couple of days.
Yeah.
So
That's an awesome way to think about it too. Because if other people can have a different perspective to where like they think the cons can be very jarring. It's like, oh man, it's so many people. But yeah, it's the way you look at it, and just if you enjoy it and just gung ho about it and just want to meet the people, like. Yeah, it's such a fun time. And I mean, it's obviously a fun time for us. We obviously love going to the expos and cons, but
I'm going every year
they're
now.
great. Oh, that's awesome, dude.
Oh,
Yeah,
good. Yeah, I mean,
same
like,
with me, man. Comic-Con, I'm going every year.
That just asked like Sean, just being out there, because like I have waited in those like 5-hour lines, and I'm just like, you know what? How often
that's how we became. That's how we became.
I feel like there's like a terrible dad joke in there. It's like, what's the best part of being a voice actor? There's pros and cons.
I will say it's like Peter Cullen, like who has been the voice of Optimus Prime, like all the way back to Gen 1. Like when I was sitting there waiting for Jonathan Frakes line, it was like about 11:30 Mountain Time when I was over there waiting. He wasn't even going to be there until 2:00 on that Sunday. And his half of his line was like, his area was already filled up with people, to the point where they were looking at Jonathan Frakes' line going, can we steal a little bit more room out of there? But to your point though, Sean, I think it's very much appreciated to have that, for you to have that point of view, because there were a couple of voice actors that were there that were supposed to be there right at 10:00.
Right.
And they were, for whatever reason, running late and didn't show up for like another hour and a half while people were waiting. And so that is
and still just did their allotted time and left, right?
I try to give the benefit of the doubt.
That's a
because
bummer.
you never know what battles someone is fighting in the background.
Or something like that.
Yeah, it's a bummer. It happens, but yeah.
Before we dive into Tears again, I gotta ask you guys, have you guys ever had like your own personal like fanboy moment while you've been at these conventions and there's been other voice actors there? Because
good question. Who have you run into where
the
like
one
Tara
that I can
Strong, right? She does all the videos with all the different people when she goes to these cons and whatnot. So who's your fanboy moment?
The one that I immediately think of, which I got to do within the last like 6 months, was about 2 to 3 tables down, was Brad Swale, who was the voice of Light Yagami in Death Note. So funny callback to the joke I made earlier. What a lot of people don't know, unless they grew up around the same time that I did, is like the first like thing that got me known in the voice acting sphere was when I auditioned for Anime Expo's AX Idol in 2009. And my audition was the breakdown monologue that Light has in the warehouse towards the end of the series, based on Brad Swale's performance. So I finally, after like 15, 16 years of doing this,
for full circle moment,
finally got to come up to him and say, you don't know me, we're just meeting now, but I need you to know that the reason I'm here at this table today is because of you. And I told him the story about that, and he was just, I'm going to tear up if I talk about it.
That's awesome, man.
That's amazing, dude.
That's
like,
cool.
It's like, seriously, that full circle moment where you're just, you know what, this is what got it started.
I'm waiting for it to happen to me. Like at the same time that my
that's
brain's
the
like,
other,
I'll never.
That's the other thing, dude. You be ready for that, because that's going to be an amazing moment too, that you inspired someone. And it's true. It's very true. Those performances were amazing. And, coming from a 30-year-old, I love those games, dude, and they were amazing.
Yep. What about you, Joe?
Jim Cummings. That
Oh,
did SAC Anime. God, I don't know how many years ago, before the pandemic and all that stuff. Jim Cummings.
we're talking Jim Cummings, voice of Winnie the Pooh, right?
Yes, amongst many others.
He does a lot more than you'd think.
Well, no,
he voices my favorite Disney character in Pete, Pegleg Pete.
Mm-hmm.
And I love just everything that he does is just awesome, man. It inspired me at a very early age to get into this business. And I had met him at like a couple of other like social gatherings and stuff like that, knowing from some mutual friends and all that stuff. And like every time was just kind of like, you can't even say anything because you're so like, and I don't get starstruck. I absolutely don't.
But in that moment, you're like, what could I say that I can?
But it always depends on the caliber, though. Like I'm the same way. Like I'm pretty good with famous people and actors, but it depends. Like,
you're like, what could I say that no one else has said yet? I don't want him to do that thing. Of,
oh my god. Oh no. Just go all in. Yeah.
You just don't want to sound like a goof, like you don't want to be like a total turd and just like, like totally like.
In this case, you should sound like a goof. That's
honestly, dude. Actually, I can actually say from experience, like actually recently from experience. No, dude, go all in and just express yourself because I made an ass of myself in front of someone like I admired very much at Disneyland, dude. So it was Batman himself, Christian Bale.
Oh
yeah, dude. But I went all in. I just excuse me, sir. I just said a few words like, you inspired me. You're like one of my film heroes. I just said a few words, and he was like, "That's very sweet, mate. Thank you."
And you know what it is? I think it comes from a place of like, I don't want to bother this person. I just don't. I don't
but usually I don't. I do not do that. Like. Plenty of times, dude. I almost met Colby Saunders at Disneyland, but I locked eyes with her and just like waved, like you're awesome. Just gave her a little like sweet because she was with her family. But Bale, dude, that was like, when am I ever gonna get this moment?
Yeah.
So that's why I just gave a few words and walked away.
Oh, that's cool.
But I was just like, one of those moments where I kind of had to like, I'm really sorry. But yeah.
And I get that, Joe, what you're saying is because like my wife, when we went to Fan Expo, right? My whole goal taking her there was to meet Jodie Benson.
Wow.
So for a lot of people who don't know who that is, she is the OG Ariel.
Yeah.
In Little Mermaid.
Little Mermaid.
She has it in her contract that she will always be the animated version of Ariel. They can never replace her. It is built into her contract. Yeah.
Sounds like we need to strike a third time.
Right. She found that out during the round table, like the whole Q&A, like little panel session that Jodie was doing and stuff. But was like, she was like wondering like, how would she approach? I'm like, dude, just talk to her like a person. Yeah. Right. I think that's the best advice I can give to anybody who's listening to this and watching is that when you go to these conventions and you go to talk to them, just treat them like a person, just don't, instead of just being like, oh, they're the character. It's like, yeah, they're the character, but they're also a real person too. And it's like, those are the most genuine experiences. Like, I mean, through the podcast we've met, I mean, you guys and so many more, even at E3, right? Just running into different actors and stuff there. It's just like, you treat them like a person and it's going to go a whole lot better than this. They're just, for a fan service. Right.
They appreciate, it feels like you guys appreciate more of those stories on why they fell in love with your character and why they love your performance on more of a personal level, instead of like, oh my God, the game's so popular and amazing. Like you're a great character. Can I get this signed? Like, no, it's more of the like what made them want to get that game and continue on.
Yeah.
It's part of what keeps me humble about my career, because one of the questions we often get asked is, what is your favorite role that you've done, or what's the one that you cherish the most? And I tell people it's not a cop-out when I say that I find a different reason to like each of them, because I point to the audience. I'm like, probably every single person in this room has a project or a show that is unique and special to them for whatever reason.
Which is why I feel is a way better, perfect answer too. By the
Right.
way.
It's like I don't ever want to align myself and be like, oh yeah, that one was okay, but it wasn't as fun as this one. No, I want to be able to connect with you on what made it special to you, and then share my own story on top of it. So
that's how I feel my love for movies. I can't critique too much to the point, because I always find some sort of reason to appreciate it.
right.
Can we,
What I see.
real quick, Jerry, you saw the picture, right? Speaking of the love of movies, and let's talk about our childhoods. You saw the picture Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman posted, right?
Oh yes, I did. Yes, I did. I'm trying so hard not to like see anything. Well, I want to go into that movie completely blind, but
I would put money on the bet that they're going to recreate that meme image of Wolverine on a bed, like holding the photo frame in front of him.
Oh, they already did. Already did. Yeah, they already did the cartoon version of that picture in the frame.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh, you got
Already out
at
there.
some point.
So much stuff is leaked out about that. It's hilarious. But like, they did explain why Hugh Jackman's got long sleeves.
Oh,
for the
I was
suit, though.
just about to bring that up. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, Hugh Jackman had like skin cancer.
He has skin cancer,
that's
so
why.
they basically retrofitted the old classic suit with sleeves.
He
So
had, I think, 2 surgeries in the same spot on his nose in like within the past year or 2 years. So it was starting to get.
He talked about when they were workshopping The Greatest Showman, and this was like literally right before, like he had like a procedure done on his nose that affected his singing. And
I think that was his second one.
yeah, they were supposed to pitch the show. They were supposed to like actually do one of the numbers in order to get financing and get the movie made. And like his doctor was like, I can't guarantee you that if you sing like acoustically, it's gonna like tear your nose off or like cause a tear or hole like in what's going on with your nose. And he did it anyway, and yeah, it was crazy, man. Like look up talking about it.
That's why Jackman's the man.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
He's the
I
man.
can't wait for it.
Yeah.
And then I also I can't kind of wait for Superman Legacy now, just because we get to see Nathan Fillion in a Green Lantern costume. Hopefully it's not CG.
You got
that was cool. I'm wondering who he's going to be.
He's
which Lantern?
He's Guy Gardner.
Yeah, Guy Gardner.
Really?
As much as I would love to see him play Hal Jordan, because just
he's too old for Jordan.
Old man, like
based on the Superman, but that would have been sweet. But
why Guy Gardner?
That's the other thing, because he's usually a younger character in the comics. So I'm wondering, is he going to be like more of a jaded older character? Weird. I wonder.
Nathan Fillion's too likable to play Guy Gardner.
And that's the other thing. Yeah, he's a dick. He's a dick in the comics. He's not likable at all. Yeah. But the other castings were pretty cool. What's her face from Transformers First Night? She's a Hawk Girl.
And that's where I recognize her from. She's playing, okay. And
Dora. She was Dora.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then the other one I think is Mr. Fantastic. They casted.
Yeah. He was the death dealer in Twilight.
Right.
Yep. All right. So I gotta ask you guys, how's it feel to be seeing Tears of the Kingdom having such the impact that it is, and you guys being part of that legacy?
It is so highly amusing to me to not the players, but the developers losing their goddamn minds. Like in the first week that the game was out, I remember just seeing threads of asset creators and artists and game engine designers going, how Nintendo, what? Like just
right.
Just like, do you understand how long it took me to create a set of wheels that didn't crash the game as soon as they started rotating? How do you do this? It just highlighted to me like all the secrecy that Nintendo has behind its games and how it's such proprietary information. There's a reason for it, because when you have industry leads going, I have no idea how the hell they did that. You know that there's some black magic going on.
Yeah.
I mean,
especially on the Switch, where it's like not the strongest console, you know.
But
and cartridge, still cartridge, or does that make a difference?
Technically, it's still a cartridge.
It's a beautiful freaking game, man.
Yeah.
I'm proud to be just like this, piece of the greater, whole that is this game.
I do think it's weaker than Breath of the Wild in one important regard, though.
And
I don't get that spicy taste anymore when I lick the cartridge. They stopped doing that.
That knocked it down one.
They knocked it down.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is why
That's awesome.
that's why you do not do ibuprofen and Red Bull.
I rest them on my tongue like they're those Listerine strips that you do for bad breath.
Bro, no.
I keep it under my tongue. That's probably why I didn't get a speaking role. As they were like, "Are you ready to record for 10 minutes?" I was like, "Oh yeah, hold on."
I'm wondering if that's like the Gen Z version, like those D batteries or whatever the batteries were, and like putting them on your tongue. Do you remember
Dude, I never did that.
Yeah.
I did that all the time when I was a kid. Like that.
I did that on dares, but not willingly.
Listen, don't look up what Gen Z or the current gen is into. Like
dude, I was about to say like.
No, I'm gonna link something in chat. I don't think you want to show it. But
wait, Tide Pods. Remember that?
It's called Skibbity Toilet. It's called Skibbity Toilet. Here.
Oh God.
No.
Oh no.
No.
I don't think it's inappropriate, but like this is new gen humor.
As I'm opening it up right now.
I'm checking.
No, I'm just kidding.
But
I have it queued. I'm going to watch it later.
Yeah. So that's my part of the answers. I was so enthralled by how the rest of the gaming industry was losing their minds.
Dude, I mean, it's when you have something where you can build something, people are just gonna go
crazy,
wild, like insane.
So my question is, how do you guys feel about the imagination of the players? Like, with the Karoks and the building.
I'm I'm incredibly grateful that they showcased to me exactly why I will never play that game, because I would get so frustrated trying to do the most basic of building tasks.
Dude, it's so funny that because it's like my wife's been the one that's been playing it mostly, and she's maybe like maybe 2 temples in, not that far in the game, but she has put in like 60 hours because she's just roaming like no tomorrow. Like, sister-in-law the same way. I was like, oh my God, guys, but they're like, dude, like it's how you want to play the game.
I'm an analyst when it comes to gaming. You give me constrained parameters with very specific limits and tell me to operate within those limits, and I will figure out how to break the game wide open within those limits. But you give me a wide open world and say everything and anything you do works.
Go wherever you want.
Yeah, and I'm like, choice of paralysis or paralysis of choice. This does not work.
I gotta say this. So, with all the love and respect to you guys, right, and where you hold things, I stopped playing Tears of the Kingdom 2 weeks after launch.
Now, why? Why is that?
It had nothing to do with the story, even though like weapon durability still ticks me off. We don't really need that, but it is the fact that they force feed you Ultra Hand and make you use it so much that I wasn't a fan of the mechanic. Like, I get its purpose, but the fact that you have to use it so much for so many different things just kind of drove me crazy. And
Be honest, it's because it reminded you of the hot furry dad and you were getting uncomfortable feelings, so you had to back away from it.
Not even that,
right?
because I play Animal Crossing. I am 800 plus hours in Animal Crossing, and I am actually redoing my island right now, like as we speak.
Yeah.
I love how Animal Crossing is great because it gives you like power fantasies, like paying off things that you want to own.
I just build it all. But no, it was just having to go into every temple, having to build something to solve it, or all those different pieces instead of actually having a little bit more flexibility to use the other items. Like, I absolutely love the rewind feature. Like when I have the big, hobgoblins, throwing big boulders at you, I just like rewind, throw it right back at you. Those I like those functions, but Ultra Hand, I just didn't like having to be forced to use it a lot of the time, especially for all the shrines and stuff. So I kind of stopped playing it. I'm gonna try and go back and try and finish it, but it's just kind of just was getting to me.
Give it a chance. I mean,
bro.
Like it's the first one, and yes, they kind of overdo it a little bit as far as like making you utilize it, but it's really the foundation of all your abilities, and like you kind of build upon it from there. And you know, you mentioned some of the different shrines and like all that. You know, that's one of the things that I loved about like some of these challenges is like there's no one set way.
They're different instead of compared to Breath.
I love
They're
it.
different.
And I love it. Like that's one of the features and qualities about the, you know, those challenges that I freaking love is like there's no one set way of doing things.
I get trying to encourage him to continue on until at least you got the recall button for the building. Where you can set your memory on, so you wouldn't have to keep using it. All you have to do is just click on it and it does it automatically.
Yeah,
I was saying at least to go to that point and see where you feel, but you know,
I mean,
get back to it when you can. I'm still playing it. I love it. It's an everyday like 2 hour here and there thing. Yeah, I love it. It's one of those games that I'm gonna,
I think what's funny is
keep going.
It's hooked Theo. Right.
Yeah,
and Theo's,
well, I mean, it's like, a 10 out of 10 game, sir. It is a 10 out of 10 game.
And I think he just started it a week or two ago. Like he was late to the game as well. And he's like, oh, dude, it's amazing.
I'm stuck on FF16 right now.
I wish I still had time for MMOs. Oh wait, no, that's not MMO. That's the new one that came out. Is that out or is that just like
it's out?
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I'm getting too old. Time going too fast. Must stop.
It is.
Don't worry, Sean. I'm right there with you.
I'm throwing the Red Bull back up. I'm slowing time down again.
I've been a Final Fantasy fan ever since I could remember, and I have it bought, and it's still wrapped, and I'm like, oh my God, I need to find time. I need to find time, man. Like,
I'm trying to knock out my backlog right now,
dude. Yeah,
hey,
backlog.
Jason, the platinum for you is very doable.
Oh,
because it doesn't require doing anything like on an ultra hard. It's just basically finish the game on New Game Plus is one of the trophies. That's
I mean, either way, it's just the fact that I haven't even opened it up, man. It's just I feel like I'm such a I've been fronting, man. Like, no, I need time, bro. Like, I need some time.
Okay, circa 1998.
So
you fronting, dog?
I'm posing. Like, come on, bro.
Joe,
you straight posing, dog.
Posing.
Yeah, yes, right. So Joe, with as much as you've played it, right, and whatnot, have you gotten to the point where we get to see Yunobo?
I have. I just got.
How did that feel
with the Fire Temple and Death Mountain and all that stuff? It's just cool, man. It's really, really cool. Like, again, I'm probably about 80 hours in, and I've barely scratched the surface. I'm only 2 temples down, so I still have a long way to go. But there's just this beautiful sense of accomplishment and just like immersion that I have not experienced with any other game like this. And just being able to like just get lost and fall in love with the aesthetic and the beauty, and like going off and doing these side quests and just exploring, and I love it, man.
You still get the shivers when the music sting hits at a certain point while you're adventuring.
Yeah. And now what's really cool, you know, you talk about meeting Yunobo and you know, Death Mountain and all that stuff. I'm at a point now where my kids are old enough, and so they're watching me play and they're hearing Daddy's voice, which is just a really rewarding experience just on a deep level.
What was their reaction when you told them like that's Dad did that character?
Yeah, they're like, you know, their eyes lit up and stuff.
That's awesome, dude.
Oh, it's just, it makes it extra special. It really does.
Oh, that's so cool. Yeah, we always get updates with Matt when he's playing with
they live vicariously through me.
It's awesome. It's awesome though, because you know he's starting to get pretty good at, well, no, he's doing games on his own now.
So the boys right now are playing Mario Odyssey.
That's okay.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Cody. Yeah,
on rarely asking me for help. They're doing it on their own for the most part.
Yeah. Oh my God, that makes me feel so old now. That's so crazy.
So yeah, they're doing that. They're doing, you know, Captain Toad on their own for the most part, and
no joke, man. I mean, I have a really bad habit of like starting games but never finishing them, and Mario Odyssey was one of those games, unfortunately. But while I was playing it, there's just this perfect wholesome, just vibe of Mario Odyssey that made me remember why I fell in love with playing video games in the first place. And again, I can't say that about a lot of games.
You kind of get lost again, like how you kind of started the first Mario game. You kind of get lost in just playing and just enjoyment, enjoying it.
Yeah,
yeah,
just for the love of playing the game. That's it. Yeah.
So, Sean, I got to ask you, when you look at you being listed as, Deku Tree and Teba and stuff, you're mentioning you didn't really have lines or anything for it. Still having characters that are part of, what you took part in for Breath and everything like that. How do you feel about those still being in tiers and still?
The Great Deku Tree is still crazy for me because, like, the thought I still have is even every so often I'll still try to check it. Like, okay, there's got to be another animated series that he showed up in that had a voice actor for it, right? Like, so, and coming to the realization that at least for right now there is one English voice for the Great Deku Tree in the entirety of the 8.6 billion people world, and it's me. Is surreal. I can't. It's ridiculous, and it hits even harder because, and without going into the full story about this, the Great Deku Tree was originally the only character that I was cast as. Revali and Teba came later down the line while we were in the recording process, and I shouldn't have even had the chance to begin with if I hadn't been insistent about it, because I had booked a callback, but it was for 2 other characters, and when I asked if I could do the voice that would end up being the Great Deku Tree as my third, the casting director at first assured me oh, we've got bigger guys, we've got guys with really deep voices. And as professionally as I could, I said, I totally understand, and if you don't like it, that's fine. But I was allowed to pick 3 characters. I would like to do the third character. And if I had just said, oh, I understand, don't worry about it, thank you for your time, none of that would have happened. And it's almost terrifying to think about that one moment in time, that one little moment of insistence and the preparation that it took to be able to blow them away when they were coming into it with, all right, we'll humor him, we'll listen to it, and then we'll move on. To shift their entire opinion in that moment, it's scary. I'm glad it worked out, but it's terrifying. So great.
But you can also look at it that that moment was also kind of meant to be, because as you said, you chose that moment to kind of plant your feet and insist, like, you know what, I prepared for it. I really would like to just try it.
We could say it's meant to be. I tend to be more realistic, where I just view it as it is the perfect example of preparation plus opportunity equals success. I don't ever want to pretend something is fated to be or not fated to be, but I find that if you keep yourself ready, then whenever that random chance or that one-off opportunity comes along, you have the best chance of capitalizing on it. And that is like the core of being successful, no matter what you're doing, whether it's VO or podcasting or anything.
I agree with that more. I'm more on the side of being a little bit more self-aware and just
I understand
having the opportunity to see that opportunity and then seize it.
Right. True. That's very true.
Yes, much better.
Let me ask you guys this.
Amazing.
If by some miracle we were to get a remaster or a remake of Ocarina of Time, would you guys reprise your lineage's roles? So the Gorons, the Deku Tree.
In exchange for I would, but in exchange for giving up Revali and Teba, because I don't think there's really an equivalent present Ocarina of Time, I would want to voice Mito, the jerk ass Kokiri who don't bother coming back until you've got a sword and a shield, Huh? I'm Mito. I protect the forest.
I'm immediately going to hear that now. That's all I'm going to hear if I ever play that again. Oh my God. That would be sweet. I like that.
Joe?
Yeah, absolutely. 1,000 times. I don't know if I've told this story to you guys before, but I remember, I think it was Wind Waker, man, where I first met the Gorons. And I remember the song even to this day. It sits in my mind, and I just remember being so fascinated by them. I must have been maybe about 15, 16 at the time. And Wind Waker, for me, it's Ocarina of Time and like Wind Waker. It's like 1A and 1B as far as I'm
We're
concerned.
there. That's literally my list.
Like it's so hard to choose.
Well, and Breath and Tears now.
Yes, Breath and Tears. It's so hard to choose, but like, man, those games just hit, at the right time for me. And like falling in love with Gorons back then, if you had told me that I would be a Goron champion 2 times, come on, like that's something that 16-year-old Joe never in a million years could ever wrap my mind around. Like that's crazy, man. That's just that's crazy talk.
And it's even weirder when you think about this, Joe, because like when we were that age experiencing those games, like sure they didn't have VO, but we were enraptured by these universes. We were creating the voices in our heads, whether or not we were.
Oh, I imagined it every playthrough. Yep. Oh yeah.
You fell in love with their personalities. You fell in love with who they were.
Their expressions. Everything.
Try and conceptualize that right now. There are people who are that age that we were back then, playing these games the way that we played Ocarina of Time and having those moments when they meet our characters, this time hearing voices behind them and feeling that same sense of, I'm in this entirely different world right now. Yeah. It's so exciting. Yeah, it's such a awesome. Good full circle moment.
It's insane too that you bring that up because like a lot of people, especially since we're really close to a lot of the Final Fantasy guys, like when we grew up, we're like, oh, okay, these are what they sound like. Oh, like.
And it's it was during that time we were wishing like, oh man, imagine if they had a little bit more in the budget and they got voiceovers for the characters.
It's just like, I wonder what they sound
just
like.
Something added to it. Yeah.
Like have that extra dimension and bring them alive. And then now you hear it now with all these remakes that are coming out with these like voices, and you're just like, oh, that's what it's supposed to sound like. Or
I always wanted them at least in the cinematics at during that time. Yeah,
I think it's entertaining, like especially like John and Brianna, right? Brianna, when the game came out, was doing episodes where she would bring on the other voice actors, and they would voice the lines from the original Final Fantasy VII game as their remake characters. So like John Eric Bentley reading Barrett's lines is hilarious because I wouldn't imagine him to have that kind of a voice. For the OG. And I think though that goes back to what we were talking about earlier, just that impact, right? Like you guys now, for those that are experiencing Zelda through Breath of the Wild for the first time, right?
The next wave.
I grew up, for me, it was Link to the Past and the OG Zelda on the NES. Like Link to the Past will always be my favorite Zelda of all time. Like I can go back, play that game till I'm blue in the face and keep going, and it never gets tiring. Like now people are experiencing Breath of the Wild and hearing you guys voicing those characters. And I think now too, as you guys are giving like some semblance of like hope that like some of these people that actually are into acting and want to do voiceovers, that, hey, you know what? Like you talk about, Joe, you 16-year-old you couldn't imagine that you'd be a Goron one day. It's like, you're going to have kids that are going, I'm never going to, I don't know how I'd get into this. And now you kind of give them that hope that, hey, I can get into this too, and we've had those frank conversations, right, in the past where, you've said it's hard, in the beginning, it's hard even now because you guys are constantly, you're hustling.
And I especially appreciate, as someone who grew up in Michigan, I am very aware of and grateful for my background as well, because when you mention people who are eager to get into this or eager to know what the next steps are, I appreciate that I get to share, like, hey, I wasn't born in a Hollywood family. I didn't grow up in the city and make early connections. I grew up on the age of the internet. A lot of my earliest work was on Newgrounds, and you're kind of seeing some of that discourse coming up now. If you've seen some of the drama involving like Sun Wong and other folks, where it's like, oh, they're YouTubers, they can't act, and they're like, no, you don't understand. We've been acting a lot longer than you think we have. But getting back to the main topic, the fact that I can tell them, I didn't grow up in Hollywood locales. I didn't have theater as a basis. I did theater middle school, but I didn't major it in college. But instead, I found ways to expand my expertise and my creative outlet to make it successful for myself anyway. So while you may not follow my exact path, here are some key milestones or key points that I experienced that I might be able to help better prepare you for. And I like that I'm able to give them that insight of like, you don't have to be set up for success. You just have to be willing to put in the time, effort, and at times financial investment to seek out those opportunities and make them more likely to happen for you.
Yeah, I mean, kind of piggybacking off of what Sean had said, I've discovered that in my journey, there's no two paths are the same. I mean, as far as like how Sean got here is very different than how I got here. You know, you talk about not taking, like any theater classes outside of like junior high. I went to college for theater. I did Shakespeare. I did all of that stuff. I paid my dues, and for me, I felt like that. That was my training ground. When I got out of college, my parents harped on me, like, go to a graduate school, get a master's degree, all that other stuff. And at that point in time, I was not interested whatsoever in doing, another, 2-3 years of a master's program, getting even more in debt with college and all that stuff. But that's when I started taking voiceover classes. And for me, that was my master's program. That was me like taking that next step and building upon everything that I had learned in my theater training. And now I was getting really, really specific. And one of the best pieces of advice that one of my professors told me is, you are your own business, whether you realize it or not. And that's something that I always try to tell a lot of the up and coming voice actors is, like, you can't treat it like a hobby. Like, and I know you get into something for pure intention. You do it because you love doing it. You do it because you want to do it. And this is something you're passionate about. But if you were, trying to start a construction business, if you were trying to start a, this or that, like, you would need a certain amount of overhead. And like with that, you need to like invest in yourself as far as like your training, your equipment, there's so much that goes,
and your self-motivation, like, for what the public sees in general is us making the announcements on Twitter or engaging in drama and like making the reveals.
They don't see all the work that goes into the audition.
Yeah.
What they don't see is the 50 auditions that we spent equal amounts of time on that didn't lead to anything. What they don't see is the nights that we're up until 2 o'clock in the morning editing training audio for a business that they are never going to hear it, because that's what's helping pay the bills. Funny story, because Matt probably knows from the email that I forgot that this was supposed to be at 7 instead of 6. So I logged in at 6 and I was like, oh, it's an hour from now. In that 55 minutes between when I left the room and came back for the interview, I sent off 11 character auditions and 2 additional corporate auditions for a site that I had a membership on, because I happen to have that free time. And I'm like, if I knock it out now, I'm not going to have to deal with it later. That 1 hour time span, bam, 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 just left and right. And statistically, the most likely outcome is that none of them pan out. And I have to be just as willing to do it the 100th time as I was the first time. And that is daily, every day, every week, every month. And a lot of people don't realize how persistent that is and how high the rate of rejection is compared to those successes. And I say successes with like a heavy-handed quotation, because yeah, you succeeded, you got the job. No, don't screw it up once you get in the studio.
I was about to say, just editing alone, people don't even realize like how long it takes to put up an episode, or even just a small segment. They don't realize like how long it really takes to edit. And I totally agree.
I'll say this too, kind of coming off of what Sean had said, is, for every Zelda, for every Final Fantasy, for every, you name it, AAA type of game, there are, I don't know, 10, 20, I don't know how many other little games that we've all done, that are like mobile or whatever, that like just don't see the light of day, people don't hear about, like are just so obscure that like, it's like, oh, that thing. I'll give you a quick story, man. I was working on this one project for the longest time, and it was like, oh, okay, cool. And again, most titles use code names, so you don't know the actual title of the game itself. So it's like, oh, okay, cool. I'm working on that thing again. All right, whatever. And so I start seeing these previews pop up for this game that's about to be released, and like the studio or the they're doing interviews with voice cast, which is like, oh, okay, cool. Hey, I know that person. Oh, hey, that's cool. It's like, damn, I wish I was in that game.
Right.
Fast forward to like 2 or 3 days later, I get an email saying, "Hey Joe, you know that thing that you worked on that was codenamed this? It's actually that game that you were like,
sweet
for." So it's like, oh, son of a bitch. I'm in that freaking game. I didn't even know it.
Right.
Again, like I cannot tell you how many times like we're left out of the loop, like how many obscure things, or like, again, you don't get the final title. Like I can't remember what.
And I'm happy that you guys do get left out of the loop, because that makes it less likely for an NDA to get broken while you guys
no. Real quick story. I mean, kind of bringing back to Zelda. Me and Bill know each other. Like, I've known Bill ever since he came out to LA. Bill, who voices King Rome of Hyrule. I've known Bill ever since he came out to LA, and so we're pretty good friends. Like, we'll occasionally hang out and get a bite to eat, get some drinks, and like hang out with friends and stuff like that. And when we were working on Breath of the Wild, like, I'd be leaving a session and I'd run into Patricia, or I'd run into you, Sean, or I'd run into Amelia, or I'd run into Elizabeth. So like, I kind of had an idea of who was in the cast, more or less. I did not know that my friend Bill Rogers was the king of Hyrule. I had no idea. And again, like, we would be just talking like, hey, what's going on? What do you know?
He had to method act it. He ghosted you.
Like he didn't say anything because he didn't want to break NDA. I didn't say anything because I didn't want to break NDA. And so we just kind of went about our lives, just keeping this big secret from each other, because NDA. Until maybe about 3 days before the game came out, and they sent out an email to everybody in the cast saying, hey guys, we're really excited, like, this is what's coming up, like, game's coming out in like another couple of days, so just just get ready for all that's going to happen. And I'm looking at this email and I'm like, okay, I see Patricia, I see Sean, I see Amelia. Bill's on this. That son of a and so we kind of had like this mutual kind of moment.
I like to imagine that at the moment you both got the email, you called him and he picked up and you went, It was just that for the first 30 seconds. He went, yes, son of a bitch.
Yeah. I also feel a little bit like an a-hole too, just to kind of piggyback off of all that, because probably about a week before that email went out, and again, I didn't meet everybody. Like Andy Gibson, who plays Impa, she sent me a friend request on Facebook, and I can laugh about this now because I know Andy, but I have kind of like a policy where it's like, well, I'm not going to accept a friend request if I don't know you, if I've never met you. Like, and so I'm like, it's like, who is this rando? Like, I think I may have declined her friend off the top of my head. And then finally I see the email and it's like, oh my, and so I felt like a total a-hole after that. And I made it up to her, and like, I was just like very,
you know what though, I get it, Joe, because like both Vic Chow, who's in FS7, and John Bentley, like, we're friends with them now. We every time we go to LA, we hook up with them and stuff, like, and John had a project. He didn't say anything about it. And when it launched, I'm like, you son of, I was like, the same type of thing with like you and Bill. You're like, I hate you, but I love you. But I get it though. And I think that's what's great though about, everybody that we know, is that you guys value NDAs so much.
Yeah.
And believe me, the respect is very mutual on that, because
we respect it as much as you guys do.
Knock on wood, since January 1st,
and may I also just say, everything that you guys just told us, the stories, but also the amazing information that you gave. That's what we appreciate of getting you guys on, because the information you're giving us and saying out loud, or saying out there, for the future voice actors who who may need you know, a bit of realism and, you know, to be a little bit more self-aware that like, oh, you know, like maybe I need to take this a little bit more seriously, or I need to invest a little bit more in this.
Well,
I need to
that,
take it to this level,
you know,
or
the other
you know,
the other side where you can't talk anything about it, and you're just like you're sitting on this secret.
There's that level of maturity
like,
where you just
like,
you that's part of the job. You can't say a thing. You can't tell anyone. That's part of the job as well.
And another that's great about having you guys on is you guys realize we've already been doing this for an hour already.
Bro,
I just looked
well,
at
it's a 2-hour minimum, man. So I'm getting that 500 from you whether or not we use the whole time.
If someone's there, Sean will be there. You know, you said like,
$40 for an autograph.
$40.
You
But
know,
no.
70 for the combo.
Now that the second game is out, now it's doubled. Now it's 80 because you're technically getting one signature for 2 different projects.
Okay. I like that.
Don't argue, or I'll make it per character, and then you're be in real trouble,
right? But no,
the one thing that always I'm always curious, and I know it's never going to happen, but until I get my own, but I always want to know what these Operation like NDA titles are, you know, because like I'm thinking it's like something weird, like Operation Cough Drop, or like
no, it's not that far off. I mean, like it could be Operation Leather Couch, or it could be.
And I'm like, dude, like,
I always use Ubisoft as a good example because we got like 4 code names for the Assassin's Creed games, like codename Red, codename Jade for a while.
Yeah, but it's just like, you know, like I want to know, like, you know, Nintendo seems like they have like something really funny.
I'm sure those are weird. Yeah. I'm sure those are like again, I know way off.
Because it's that of the past.
Like codename Teacup, it's Zelda. Like, yeah.
Great, he guessed it, Joe. We're gonna get sued. I tried to help myself.
Not again.
It's the secret third game where they're having a peaceful tea party after the events of Tears of the Kingdom, and someone poisons Zelda's cup and she ends up falling into a coma. It was supposed to be a stealth remaster of Zelda 2: The Adventures of Link.
You know what?
I love it.
How's that being made?
You know what? I'm already down for it. Like I'll pre-order.
Like Sakurai and Subspace Emissary. You had to go and leak it. Now it's not going to happen. It's your
Project
fault.
Teacup is the DLC. That's what it is.
Okay. Still have questions.
Are we gonna? If we're going that route, can we do Project Mrs. Potts to do the second DLC?
Sure. Yeah, why not?
Let's go.
I mean, isn't Link and Zelda's form at the end of the game just Beauty and the Beast retold in a different way? I see we've got people here who haven't finished the game yet.
I have not. So I did not want to speculate or ask anything else.
I ain't gonna speculate.
Yeah, I don't know if my wife will ever beat the Tears, but like, you know, it's I believe in her because she's just having fun with it, man. And that's what it is. That's all. That's the point.
I'll eventually get to the moment where I need to finish the story, and I'll do that.
Well,
but,
I mean, just
I'm just,
you know, like we all have different, like, how we all get to the end, you know. It's always like the journey is worth the adventure, blah blah blah. You know, I don't know what that's saying.
And also, like, just kind of want to talk about it real quick because I know a lot of people on Twitter and Instagram and all that were kind of like poo-pooing and like complaining. It's like, oh, $70 for this game. Oh my God, Nintendo, you're price gouging us. And like, I get it. Like $70 is more than what you're kind of used to spending.
But
$50, $60. But yes, I get it. $70 is a little bit more. But when you factor in how many freaking hours of gameplay you get out of it, $7 is a damn steal.
Yeah.
Let's be honest, man.
It's misguided anger because in that specific instance, a game like that is absolutely worth the $70. Whereas the concern, go ahead.
I stopped playing it, Sean, but to me, it's still worth $70.
Of course, but the concern is that now that the precedent has been set, what companies are going to hop on board and start charging $70 even when the games themselves
very good question.
But that's the thing is you got to make sure that you deliver. You got to
exactly
deliver.
So to finish that thought off, Mortal Kombat 1, as they're calling it, is going to be $70 on Switch.
Okay.
No.
So there already happened. So anyway, Sean, Joe,
why do digital games cost the same as physical copies?
Dude. Physical is just a license. It's
I think they should be cheaper.
It's like,
Read
why
the
is
terms and
online
conditions.
tuition the same cost as in person?
Right. But with that go, Sean, Joe, thank you guys for crashing game night again.
Thank
You know, I love having you guys on. As always, you guys still have an open invitation. Anytime. Hit me up.
I think we should definitely have, because it sounds like this has been an evening of commiseration, because we've had, you know, without going into details, we've all had our own struggles that we've dealt with. I didn't get into it before we started, but June last month was like one of the worst months in terms of like my work and like new opportunities that I've had in a while. It was mentally, spiritually, incredibly draining. So this is our promise to each other in like however long, 6 months, a year, whatever. We're going to come back and share the successes that happened along the way as a reminder to everyone out there, to everyone out there that bad times are just times that are bad. And even those of us who would consider ourselves successful are still going to have moments where everything sucks, you know, for lack of a better term. But that doesn't mean it's over. It just means we got to power through.
Yeah.
And for those that are catching Sean and Joe for the first time, head on over to crashinggamenight.com, go up to contributors and guests, and go check out their past episodes where we had them on individually, got into their careers and whatnot.
And get us invited to your local conventions, because I promise it's a lot more fun than getting a video shout out.
True.
Definitely. So
yes, please.
To everybody, with all the craziness that is going on and whatnot, just please be excellent to each other.
Be excellent to yourself.
Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining once again. So much fun, and I can't believe that was an hour. That went too quick.
Yep.
Well, it's an hour for us. In Jason's infinite void, time is just
time is a construct.
And then I just wait for the next episode.
That man has watched every available series on Netflix twice, and it's just like, now what do I do with the rest of my ever?
You're not far off.
But also, once again, we want to send out the right message, the correct message, and let's just try and be a little bit better out there. You know, it's still a little crazy. We want to show support, lend a hand, a hug, anything. You know, let's just try and be a little bit better, a little bit more patient, show a little bit more compassion and kindness out there, and you know, just be kind.
Amen.
Everyone. So and once again, gentlemen, thank you so much for joining. It's so much fun, and to J-Rock, up to you.
Again, thanks guys. Always welcome. You know, this couch might change here and there, but you know, it's the seats will remain the same. You know, always.
When you get rid of it, you need to mail me one of the cushions so I can hang it up on my wall.
bro. Easily, it can do. I have my old couches. You know, back.
I want the one with the butt print on it from sitting on that specific section. So
your spot. He's asking for your spot.
My spot.
Sheldon.
Sold, no. But yeah, thank you guys. You know, it's always a pleasure, and it always does feel like it's never feels like an hour. But hopefully we get you guys back on again sometime. And again, hey, Sean, I really like that idea, man, because there is a lot of people that, you know, you always think of that negative. You're like, oh, dude, you know, like bringing you down. But definitely come back. We always have the winter season.
just by being here tonight, we have a 100% unbroken success rate of making it through. So I don't plan on ruining that streak anytime soon.
Yeah, dude, I love that. I love that positivity, man.
Yes.
And normally I gotta throw out a shout out to my boy Theo, because he's not here today.
We missed you, bud.
We missed him today.
Yeah.
The fourth amiga, the fourth horseman, I guess. You know.
That's right.
It's okay. With Joe and our combined 2 brain cells they equal 1 person.
Little fusion dance, you know.
There you go.
Yep. Get him.
With his brains and brawn and my
my can-do attitude.
But again, thank you guys so much. And since I have nobody, I can't do it to Theo. I mean, I guess I'll do it to Matt, because Jerry is banned from doing this.
What are you talking about? I do it great.
Jerry is banned.
I do it great.
The host with the most, Matt, send us off like Theo does.
We'll do it like Theo. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Ta-ta for now.
Matt, forgot till next time.
Yeah,
okay.
Till next time. Okay.
TTFN,
okay.
You forgot. And I ruined it. I ruined it. You suck
for the long
Matt, you suck at that, everybody.